This is Elk in northeastern Poland. Today Elk is located at around 70 kilometers from the Russian border. Before the First World War, it was very close to the Russian border, and before the Second World War it was very close to the Polish border. Then it was called Lyck, and then it was around 12 kilometers approximately to the Russian border, which after the First World War became the Polish border. This is the military cemetery in Elk today, the German military cemetery, and some of these stones look as fresh as they would have been when they were first laid here, well over 100 years ago. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take you around, show you some of these stones, and say a little bit about what actually happened here. So I'm just going to take you on the German military cemetery in this video. The Polish one can be wait for another one. Polish cemetery is down there, but we have start off with here memorial stone, which is saying how grateful the people of Lyck are to the people who gave their lives. One thing here which I find very curious is the use of the umlaut. See this word here, Männer, with the A and the E. I remember as a child asking what that meant. I had something called Aesop's Fables. Of course it's slightly different in English as it would be in German. And there you are, umlaut U, U-E is one word, and there's A-E, Kämpfen. And now here there was an invasion of East Prussia in two places. One part in the west of East Prussia, that led to the Battle of Tannenberg, major Russian defeat. But here there was the Battle of Masurian Lakes, which are often portrayed as being a battle of the similar to that of Tannenberg as far as victory was concerned. That's not correct. It was here, for example, Lyck changed hands, Elk changed hands 3 times, and the Russians weren't thrown out until the late winter of 1915. And as I walk around here, I note that many of the deaths are from 1915. So what happened here, remember the Schlieffen Plan, that the bulk of the German army was sent to the west, and leaving only local screening forces here in the east, thinking that the Russians wouldn't mobilize on time, but they mobilized very quickly. And so the people who fought here were to a large extent either local home guard or indeed locally raised units. Now, for example, here we have the Graudens, which is I think it was West Prussia, but it's relatively local, Grujons today. And but one thing really to notice is the incredible condition of some of the stones. Not only that, but it's the way they have been actually in so many cases repaired. There you go, cemetery of soldiers of the German and Russian armies who fell during the First World War. And another thing you can see as well, that a lot of these people have Polish names. Now this area in the countryside was largely Polish, or often said Masurian speaking. Masurian is more or less Polish anyway. Roman Wolczykowski, well, it's an utterly Polish name. Józef Rostkowski, okay, the Józef would be spelled differently in Polish, but again, it sounds very very Polish. And so, and not only that, you'd have Poles on the other sides as well, on the people who were forced to join the Russian army, the conscripted into the Russian army. Many of them were Poles. I have read of accounts of people speaking in Polish across the lines. When I was in Italy, I spoke of the battles that took place on the Isonzo River, or the Socha River as it is in Slovenian, and there were often similar cases where you'd have people speaking Italian across the lines, but here people in the German army speaking Polish to people on the Russian army. Now, one thing you get, of course, is people who died of their wounds, and here we have two, though. This is quite late after the war, 1935, so 19th of August 1935, the age of 32. Don't quite follow why Hans Berkoff should have been here. There might be a story behind that, and I'm assuming that Wilhelm Noack, unusual name, died of his wounds. He would have been, of course, 18 years old when the First World War ended. And here's another one. 1889, 29th of October 1889, died the 1st of August 1936. I don't know, I can't explain that, don't know why. Let's walk around here. So this is quite a large cemetery, so that's the this is more recent deaths. There are here also, though, there are people who died in the 19th century. So there's gravestones written in German. There, here lies a German hero. So names unknown. The reason I think there's so many from 1915 is because of the people who were recruited locally for the Landwehr. There you go, the Home Guard. But not in every case, but in these cases here, absolutely clear, easy to read. You've got the details. You've also, for those wanting to actually trace where these people came from, then that can also easily be done because they've got the units on. Now up here in this part here, which I am going to suggest is probably a mass grave, or maybe it's just a memorial, got a sign that says here, "We remember those who lived here before 1945 and who died here." Sorry, I just said that badly. "We remember those who before 1945 lived and died in Elk." Written in German as well as Polish. Now here, 1914 died. These stones are a little bit more difficult to read, and indeed some of them have also been put together afterwards. So you can see this one here, Lieutenant, we don't know his first name, Wolf, of the Reserve Infantry Regiment 49, 4th Company, who was faithful to his king. Now this stone has been put back together, but there's still parts missing from it, and you can see that this one as well, also it's been put back together, which is it's not an easy thing to do. Now I don't quite understand, somebody will know, it says here, faithful to his king, Treuer seiner König. Now this was here, East Prussia was part of Prussia. It was the emperor, the king of Prussia was the emperor, the Kaiser, the Caesar. And now if you came from, for example, Bavaria or other places which still had a king, then I could understand that. So the people had to swear an oath, not just to the emperor, but to the king. So maybe somebody knows the answer to that one. So people here from 1918 as well. It could be that they died on the Western Front, or it could be even that they succumbed in the East somewhere to wounds that they got earlier. We see there's the cross for the Russians who died, and I think I'll finish off this tour with as I said earlier about people dying later. So 1920, 1923, 1923. In these cases, I'm assuming that their wounds they got were that was killed them in the end. 1926. So he was 28 years old. He might have got injured in battle at the age of 20. And Gefreiter, which is often translated as corporal or lance corporal. Gefreiter is not a private. It's the word to be free. He's freed of what? He's freed from doing guard duty. So he wouldn't be on guard duty. That's for the privates, but Gefreiter doesn't do it. So that's what that word means. Probably lance corporal, because it's the first NCO rank. Here we have a mass grave, and it's rather difficult to actually read because this was an original stone that was put somewhere with the two symbols added later, but because there's a sign here and I can read this to you. In this place, remnants were buried of those exhumed from the mass grave from the period of World War I, placed initially at Ulica Kościuszki in Elk. And so here, originally, it was written 16 soldiers of the German army and 10 soldiers of the Russian army, whereas were found, whereas on the tomb board, 8 soldiers of the German army and 10 soldiers of the Russian army were found. So in exhumation, remnants of 12 persons were found within the grave, including 8 who were identified by their belongings as soldiers of the German army and 4 of them not identified, and the incomplete remains of 1 person. Sorry, that doesn't make absolute sense to me, but anyway, I just read it. So I have to say that this is one of the, if not the best preserved German military cemetery from the period. I'm not counting new ones, because even from here actually there's a very, very new, attractive looking one. I haven't been there yet myself, but that was built quite recently with people being reburied there. So this is for the Russians who don't really care about their dead. But this absolutely outstandingly well preserved. Anton Wojciechowski, absolute Polish name. Shanowski, not so much Polish, but still probably Polish. Solinsky, Polish. So I hope you found that of interest. I do like to cover these things, show people what cemeteries look like, and it really makes it worthwhile for me, very much worthwhile, when I get messages from people to say that they saw a member of their family here. It's a military graveyard, and I find that really, I don't know what the word is, but very satisfying. It's really nice to actually get messages of that nature. So for those who may have seen somebody, that would be very nice to know about. So thanks very much for being here today with me. I've done various other videos from Elk. This is a really nice place to actually visit if you get the opportunity. Northeastern Poland, well off the tourist track, lovely lake district, and thanks for watching and bye for now.